Everyone knows Tony Stark has no shortage of costume changes at his disposal, so it wasn't entirely surprising to see the remaining heroes decked out with new suits during the Avengers Endgame trailer. But these suits look awfully familiar to us, and they coincide with an interesting behind-the-scenes detail from some toys and set photos. What could these devices be for? Let's take a closer look at these new costumes. While everyone looks to the trailers and promotional art, eagle-eyed fans saw something remarkable on a new Funko Pop figurine of Tony Stark. It gave us an early glimpse at the suit we'd see later on in a trailer, and let us take a closer look at one possibly important detail. On Tony's wrist, you can see some sort of attachment we haven't seen on his previous outfits. But wait a second, it looks like Tony Stark isn't the only character rocking one of these accessories during Endgame. When we saw the team in their new suits in the trailer, we couldn't see their wrists. But some behind-the-scenes photos taken during Endgame show heroes like Captain America and Ant-Man wearing these devices as well. Initially, many fans wondered if these devices were related to time travel, and it's not hard to see why. These set photos look to be taking place at the Battle of New York, and it's long been thought that time travel will be a key component to bringing down the Mad Titan. Could these devices allow our heroes to travel through time? Another theory regarding these devices has to do with the Infinity Stones themselves. We all know it's a bad idea to grab one with your bare hands, so the Infinity Stones need to be contained within something. Some fans wonder if these gadgets could be meant to contain a single Infinity Stone each. So not quite an Infinity Gauntlet, but more like an Infinity Wristwatch. There are a few theories which center around our heroes going back in time and grabbing the Infinity Stones before Thanos has a chance to. Depending on which theory you follow, these could be the actual stones themselves, or simply replicas which will be taken into the future and used against Thanos. But either way, these devices could possibly be used to safely contain Infinity Stones without damaging the wearer. But while these theories certainly could be possible, sometimes the most simple solution is the correct one. Taking a closer look at the new suits and the situations we've seen these devices in could be the key to figuring out their purpose. If you look at the new suits from the Endgame trailer, it's easy to see that they look remarkably similar to the Ant-Man suit designed by Hank Pym. They're so alike that it seems incredibly unlikely they wouldn't be utilizing similar technology to the suit worn by Scott Lang in previous movies. During one of the Endgame trailers, we saw Scott looking aghast while taking a gander at a telephone pole full of missing person photos. When you see the trailer on Instagram instead of YouTube, the slight difference in aspect ratios means you can see that Scott seems to be holding a handle in this scene. Sure, maybe he packed up his magic set to really impress his old friend Captain America, but it could be something more useful. During Ant-Man and the Wasp, we saw various characters wheeling around Hank's laboratory. He simply shrinks it down and then wheels it around like you would a suitcase. It's definitely convenient, and it looks as though Scott might have access to it now that Hank and his family are gone. Sure, he's not a scientist himself, but he's gotten pretty good at the whole growing and shrinking thing. And we know that he does indeed meet up with the rest of the Avengers, including Tony Stark and Bruce Banner, who will undoubtedly be able to utilize Hank's technology. Yes, thankfully it's not completely up to Ant-Man to design new suits for our heroes to wear. Tony Stark and Hank Pym are both brilliant inventors, but they have a very different approach to utilizing the technological advances that they create. According to Marvel concept artist Jackson Z, he kept in mind the fact that the quantum realm is a harsh environment when creating these suits. He was inspired by the types of suits astronauts wear to cope with the challenges of functioning in outer space. Another Marvel concept artist, Andy Park, has remarked that Stark and Pym definitely have different methods of design. Tony is all about creating things which appear streamlined, aesthetically pleasing, and incorporating modern sensibilities into their designs. Hank Pym, on the other hand, is a bit more old school. Tony Stark is used to creating products which can be marketed and sold, while Hank Pym's primary focus has been things for his own use. As a result, his aesthetic is more outdated, and although the functionality is top-notch, the form is an afterthought. Keeping that in mind, it's easy to see that these new suits definitely look like an updated Tony Stark version of the classic Hank Pym suit. It seems as if the most likely scenario is that these new suits utilize the technology of Hank Pym, but of course, we expect Tony Stark to put his own spin on things. But Tony Stark is able to utilize nanotechnology to put on and remove his suit in an instant. Everyone knows that a good superhero costume is not just about form, but function as well. Especially for heroes like Ant-Man, War Machine, and Iron Man. They can't just give up their costumes unless they want to give up their superpowers, and we think it's safe to say they're going to need those if they want a chance of standing up against Thanos. Those new suits might look sleek, but it seems like pretty late in the game to be switching up outfits. Instead, it seems likely our heroes will be able to toggle between their new suits and their old ones, depending on what situation they're in. These wrist devices may be a hint that Tony's nanotechnology is at play in order to make this process simpler and easier. It's also something which may have been hinted at during Captain Marvel. After deciding she no longer wishes to wear the colors of the Kree, Carol Danvers decides to update her wardrobe. Because she has access to advanced technology, all she has to do is manipulate a device on her wrist in order to completely change her costume. These suits look too much like Ant-Man's suit for it to be a coincidence, yet we've also seen Scott wearing one. This leads us to believe that they must have some sort of new feature or special option which his old suit was lacking. Or maybe he just really wanted to have an excuse to dress up like Captain America. Hey, we're not here to judge. We all know that Scott Lang has been inside the quantum realm before. Heck, we thought he was stuck there at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, so clearly Hank Pym designed his suit with the intention of it being worn to safely traverse the quantum realm. And before Scott headed off for his last journey into the quantum realm, he received a tip from Janet Van Dyne, who had just spent years in there. She cautioned him to be careful of time vortexes, which at the time seemed like a relatively benign comment, but in hindsight it seems as though it was foreshadowing. Our heroes don't have access to the time stone, and therefore no known way of traveling through time that we know of. Yet going back in time seems like it's going to be a key component to undoing the decimation and defeating Thanos. We've seen Doctor Strange use time travel to defeat enemies before, and now it seems as though our heroes are going to be expected to do so again, and right now the quantum realm seems like their best bet. Well, it actually seems like their only chance at this point, unless Tony Stark happened to invent a time machine while he was floating around in space. It seems like something he would do, but we think using the quantum realm seems a little bit more likely. In fact, the walk-in spoiler factory Tom Holland may have hinted at this during an interview. Fellow Infinity War star Benedict Cumberbatch was on hand to rein Holland in, but he can only do so much. After all, he doesn't have access to a time stone in real life, or maybe he does, and this potential spoiler was still the best outcome. While talking about filming Infinity War and Endgame, Holland said he was relatively lucky when it comes to remembering dialogue. He mostly makes pop culture references and says how awesome things are, while Benedict Cumberbatch has to talk about the quantum realm. But we didn't hear Doctor Strange talking about the quantum realm during Infinity War. This seems as though the quantum realm may be an important component of Endgame, and we might see Doctor Strange back in action sooner than we thought. Either he could be returned to life, our heroes could see him when they travel through time, or it could have something to do with the astral dimension. Or for all we know, it could be all three of those. Based on the evidence we have so far, it seems almost certain that these suits are going to be used to travel through the quantum realm. But of course, our heroes won't need them when they get to their destination. Not only that, but these outfits would make them stick out even more so than they already do. It makes sense that our heroes would want to be as inconspicuous as possible when traveling through time. During one set photo, we even see Tony Stark wearing this device along with a normal non-superhero outfit. It's possible that in addition to letting the wearer switch between superhero costumes, they also have a plain clothes option as well. Being mobbed with attention from adoring fans would make it much more difficult for our heroes to accomplish their goals, and let's not forget that in Endgame, they're finally going to have the element of surprise on their side. Up until this point, our heroes have pretty much been reacting to all of the terrible things that happen around them. Well, they did try to be proactive after being horrified at the events of the Avengers, but considering that led to the creation of Ultron, it didn't really go over very well. Hopefully this time it goes better for our heroes, and they make the most of their time before Thanos realizes what's going on. In the past, subtlety hasn't been one of our heroes' greatest strengths. But maybe they're at least going to make an attempt at being discreet in Endgame, at least for a little while. Although we can't claim to understand the quantum realm as well as Hank Pym, he has made some statements which could help explain why special suits would be needed. Obviously, there's the issue of getting into the quantum realm in the first place, but it's also not the most hospitable place in the world. The laws of time and space tend to break down in there, and although Janet Van Dyne miraculously survived there, it's not exactly safe. Hopefully our heroes will be able to utilize the research of Hank Pym and discover more about the quantum realm and the time vortexes contained within it. Not only will this be important information for our heroes to have, but it'd also help flesh out this part of the MCU. Time travel, multiple universes, and the quantum realm are all difficult concepts, which bring ton of challenges into the already complex universe. What do you think is the deal with these new Endgame suits? Are they meant for going through the quantum realm, outer space, or somewhere else entirely? Share your predictions with us in the comment section below, and then click on that subscribe button for more videos from us here at CBR. Bye for now.